Alrighty, so about a week ago, an article came out by the Plaid Horse called The Ethics of Employment in the Horse Industry. And one of my friends shared it on Facebook, and I saved it because that seemed like something interesting to read. And then I saw that a response article came out called A Barn Owner Responds to that Ethics of Employment article. So I thought I needed to sit down and read these because ethics of employment are something that I really feel like need work. The equine industry is killing me on the fact that it's hard to maintain a job. Good jobs are hard to come by, and I feel like that is a big issue. So, in the first article, it talks about how grooms will leave without notice, they won't show up, they won't do the job, and talking about how it's hard to find good help. I think one of the bigger issues on why it's so hard to find good help and find good grooms is that it's a miserable job. I personally have been a groom, and it's not that I don't love the horses or I'm not willing to spend any hour needed to take care of them. I just want to be compensated for my expertise and my time. And to get $650 a week and board just can't cut living expenses. Like, having a place to stay for free is great, but you think, oh sure, you get your own apartment, like whatever. No, not all the time. Sometimes they shove you 5 people into like a 3-bedroom house, and so now you're sharing a bedroom with strangers, so you don't even get your own space. Now, that's not true for everybody, but sometimes that means you get to live in a trailer. Just, those are not living conditions that a lot of people are comfortable with. And then the fact that you literally are working every second of your life there. If you think that you're gonna get days off or vacation, please. You are literally working from sun up to sundown, plus night check, and then who's gonna show up on the Mondays to do the work and clean the stalls? That's still you. So I'm not really sure how trading every hour of your life is worth $650 a week, because I need days off. I need to be able to recharge, and my body says that mucking out 20 stalls every morning or whatever is hard, and there's just no time for any kind of self-care or just taking care. Like, yeah, you can't take care of yourself. So I think that is part of the issue as to why you can't find good help, because yes, I would be willing to move at a drop of a hat with no notice if I was offered a job with a little bit better benefits or a schedule that is reasonable or pay that matches the hours that I spend there. So you have to make the job worth it for people to stay. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how you can charge enough to be able to pay people enough. But I think that's part of the bigger issue. I think another part of the problem of being able to find good help is that the help can't find the job. I think that it's very difficult, and you have to know people, or it's all word of mouth, to be able to find job openings. And I get it. The horses still need to be fed every day, and if you lose somebody, to be able to put out an ad and then interview people and then hire the right person, maybe can't start for 2 weeks because they have to let their job know and be polite and give notice, how are your stalls getting cleaned and the horses getting fed? I get that, but it's really hard for people who do try to plan and are trying to be good employees to get a job, because you have to basically have already put in your 2 weeks notice and be free to then just start at the drop of a hat at some other place. So how do we solve that problem? That is a huge thing. Like, I can't find a job online because it's all word of mouth. What if I was moving? What if I had some reason that I needed to move across the country or into a different state and needed a job? Well, the only way you're going to find one is if you know somebody already there looking. Or you have to do something else in the meantime and hope you can stay connected to the industry and then be able to weasel your way back in. I think that lack of training was brought up too, and that skills to be a good horseman, like, they're dying and they're hard to come by. And that's one of the biggest goals here on the Barn Rat, is to be able to share that kind of information, because I understand how hard it is to be a trainer trying to do all of the things you have to do in a day: ride the horses, teach the lessons, communicate, plan horse shows, plan what your horses are eating, and some people have to do even more than that. So, like, I get it, because that's my day job. Of how in the world can I be on a horse and then see somebody leading a horse improperly, and I have to keep working, but you're obviously doing it incorrectly and I can't stop and train you. So I understand why that's a gap. And that's the biggest reason for behind the Barn Rat, is to try and fix that. The horsemanship quiz challenge is again another thing trying to fix that. It's really hard because it's all limited by age, and sometimes there are people who want to learn more later in life, and so that's really not an opportunity for them. And the Gold Star clinics, or EAP, those are opportunities as well for people trying to round out their horsemanship knowledge. But again, it's limited to age, and honestly, you already have to be riding at a certain level, and that's hard. A lot of people can't even afford to make it to the 3-foot level, but still want to ride, and it's still hard for them to learn the horsemanship when they just want to go to a horse show and do cross rails. I feel like the grassroots of our industry is at a lot lower level than is what's talked about. I feel like we talk about that grassroots level, and we barely even think that they're horse showing at 2.6. Well, let me tell you, I teach kids all the time, and they would be ecstatic to go to a horse show and do trot pole or cross rails and think 2.6 is like the end all be all. So, like, there's even more underneath all of that, of where they're still needing the help of being able to have access to all of this knowledge. So that's the goal of the Barn Rat, is to defy levels, to defy riding abilities, to defy age. Information is information, and you'll find that here. But back to this whole ethics on the industry. I just think that it boils down to the work environment, and a barn being set up like an actual business, so you can offer people medical benefits and days off and paid time off. Like, why do you think people get into this job, realize that they're trading their lives for very little money, and then end up leaving it? Because that is not realistic. Sorry, I don't care what you have to say. Like, The only way you can get a job at like McDonald's anymore is to have a college degree. So you have to go to get a college degree, and then you're stuck with student loans. And then if you get paid at $650 a week, guess what? That's really just not enough to live on. So then you have to leave that job, creating a hole from where you left, to go get a job that actually pays you enough. Or you don't go to college, you work as a groom, you get paid that amount, it covers your living expenses. But guess what? There's not a whole lot of room for growth on like the pay scale. So if you want anything more out of life, you're kinda stuck. Or you choose to leave again, go back to school and get a different job who's willing to pay you more and give you benefits and all of these things that adults have to think about. It's just so frustrating because I feel like I see barns run as barns, and like, you know, that's fine, but it's not run like real businesses. And when I talk to business owners and business people who have their kids riding in lessons, I just have to say, yeah, but it's different. You can't compare running any kind of company to running a barn because it's different. And it has to be different. Otherwise, the horses are treated like machines, and they're not. But also, the work and the help are kind of treated like machines to make up for it. So it's a really frustrating predicament that I feel like we're in, and I don't have the answers. I only can point and shine light on the problems, but I think we've got to talk about it. The only way we're going to find out answers is if people can talk about it and have, you know, logical conversations. We can't get offended and then write people off. Like, we have to be able to understand what is going on. And it's frustrating, and it's burnt me out many a time, this whole thing. So I can see both sides of it, but I don't have an answer, and I would really like to have one. What's your answer? What solutions do you see? Is there anything that you can think of? Have you worked at a job that was doing it right? What little things could you make note of that more people should be able to implement in their barn and in their business? Let's talk about what's right. Like, what makes it go well? Because those are the things we need to start, like, getting all across the board. We need the things that are done right and the things that make a barn run smoothly. We need more of that, and we need to know about it, because sometimes those are just like lucky stumble upon places of employment, and we all aren't so lucky. So what can we do? Help. This is frustrating for all of us, as employers, as employees, as clients, trying to have reliable people to take care of your horses. It's frustrating all across the board. What can we do? What are your ideas? Share them below. Let us know. Thanks.